Hi, everybody, and welcome to 92.3 The Fans Brownie Bites with Daryl Ruiter. I'm Andy Baskin. The Browns a winner today. Their fourth win of the season as they defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-6. Daryl, overall, they started out and they looked like a pretty good football team. The offense stalled out after that, but they got a key field goal late when they needed it.
Yeah, hot start offensively for Shedeur Sanders in the offense. Unfortunately, Harold Fannin Jr. got banged up on the touchdown catch in the end zone, was injured on Friday, re-injured himself on Sunday. But you're right, it was enough, right? I mean, that's the only statistic that matters when the dust settles is the final score. And that read Browns 13 as Steelers 6, and now Pittsburgh has to go home and play Baltimore if they want to win this division. So the Browns basically said, hey, if you're going to win the North, you ain't doing it against us. And I give this football team a lot of credit. It'd be very easy at this point of the season when you come in, you're 3-12, all the narratives are starting to pop up about who may stay, who may go. And this is not a football team that has quit on Kevin Stefanski. And I think that there is absolutely something to be said for that, how hard they played this afternoon and also came out of here with their fourth win of the season and the second win for Shedeur Sanders, first for him here in this building.
Myles Garrett was just one sack away from breaking the single-season sack record. He'll have another week to do that. It will be with 17 games, however. But I think the bigger point is Myles, after the game, said what I think a lot of us were thinking, that Pittsburgh's offense was more worried about Myles setting the sack record than the Steelers might have been about getting into the playoffs today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I posted on X, congratulations basically to the Steelers. You stopped Myles Garrett and kept him out of the record books, but you forgot to go win the game. And that's kind of what happened. Now, it was sweaty palms time there at the end of the game. Pittsburgh was able to drive down to the Browns' 7-yard line in the final 30 seconds. But I kind of laughed at what Denzel Ward said in the locker room after. I don't know whose bright idea was it to throw at me 3 times in that final series, but, well, congratulations to you because you leave out of here with a loss.
But he was on the opposite side of Myles. I think if you think about it, that comes back to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, and look, that was the game plan. Myles knew going in that Aaron Rodgers is one of the quickest in getting the football out. You knew that was going to happen. They were double-teaming him. They were chipping him on both sides, even with Jim Schwartz moving Myles around on that defensive front. And as Kevin Stefanski talked about after the game, I mean, okay, so in the box score, he doesn't get credit with a sack. He came close a couple of times, but the effect that he had on the Pittsburgh offensive attack and what he forced Aaron Rodgers to do, the fact that they forced them to use eligible receivers to chip Myles, which then made it tougher for them to get into their routes later in the play. I mean, that was very disruptive to an offense that was already without DK Metcalf.
All right, what did you think of Shedeur Sanders as he got his first win here at home?
He started off hot. I mean, he was fantastic in the first half. The interception in the first half, that's just a little bad luck off a helmet. You know, anytime a ball pops up in the air and gets picked, okay, it happens, right? The second interception was awful, fading away to his right, backpedaling or retreating, and then trying to throw across his body, across the field. That's the cardinal sin in football. You don't try and throw it across the field. He put way too much air under it, looking for Jerry Jeudy. Now, Shedeur said after the game, hey, I trust my guy to go out there and make that play.
He also said, I love to throw the ball, though.
Oh, 100%, which he's a quarterback. I don't think there's a single quarterback out there, well, maybe besides Dylan Gabriel, says, oh, please don't let us throw the ball. I'm kidding about Dylan. But you know what I mean? Like, no quarterback's out there saying, I don't want to throw the football, coach. Let's just turn and hand it off. Yeah, he likes throwing the ball. But again, it's a situation where he's going to learn from. Again, that is an absolute rookie mistake. And the one thing that I've taken so far away from Shedeur in his 6 starts to this point, he's clearly listening to the feedback he's receiving from coaches, Deshaun Watson, okay? Like, he's listening to it. He's paying attention to it. He recognizes when he's made a mistake. He owns up to making that mistake, right? He doesn't walk around and talk like he's infallible. And I think that's a very positive trait that he has. He's shown a lot in these 6 starts as far as promise goes. And we've talked about Andy. He's far from a finished product. There's no question about that. But he's shown me enough to where I am curious to see what he can do with a full off season of preparation, getting a legitimate opportunity during the offseason program to make himself a better player, and then going into the next season as the starting quarterback. And you give him 17 games next year and see if he can do this thing or not. 7 games, including next weekend season finale in Cincinnati against the Bengals, that's not a long enough runway. But you throw another 17 on top of that, now you're looking at 24 games. And you really can have an honest conversation about whether or not this kid can do it. I think he's shown you he can do it. There are things in his game, some habits he has to work on and work out of, but there's enough there where I want to see more of this kid.
I guess the biggest winner outside of the Browns is the NFL because they get a matchup next week for the AFC North title game. And so that gives them some primetime action. The Ravens, who are playing pretty good, as we saw last night on Saturday night. And then the Steelers, who might be heading in the other direction. It's going to be interesting. And I also think it also makes you wonder what's going to happen with the coaching situation, not only in Cleveland, but in Pittsburgh too. I mean, if the Steelers lose, I mean, they're already mad about Mike Tomlin all the time there anyway. I can only imagine what it's going to be like if the Steelers don't beat the Ravens next week.
Yeah, and they blow this division lead that they had, right? And also, too, Cincinnati's a situation to keep an eye on, too. So you've got Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, the triangle there. You got to, and even there's some talk in Baltimore about, John Harbaugh's future and the future of Lamar Jackson and whatnot. So it almost feels like that particular game has a lot at stake, just as much as Browns-Bengals, even though Browns and Bengals not really playing for a playoff spot, but maybe for the futures of their individual franchise. And Myles Garrett will get another crack at the sack record. Who does he sack most? Joe Burrow. So, right? So, keep that in mind. And for me, I know a lot of folks will be like, well, he needed 17 games to do it. But if he has multiple sacks against the Bengals, and not just breaks the record, Andy, but, has 2, maybe 3, or I don't know, heaven forbid, 4 or 5, right, in that game, then I think you really got to, because he's done this. Okay, he might need one more game, but he will still have done it with fewer pass attempts against him. Okay, and the defense, and I think that's something to keep in mind. But it was funny looking on X after the game, and there's the Baltimore Ravens with a perfect timing, and it's a Raven doing the Shedeur Sanders wrist up.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So with a shout out to the Browns, right? Because keeping the Ravens alive. So yeah, AFC North Championship in Pittsburgh next weekend, and then maybe the fate of the Browns and Bengals, is on the line at Paul Brown Stadium or Paycor Stadium or whatever they call that building down on the riverfront in Cincinnati.
All right. So last question for you as we head into this week too. That Jimmy Haslam has said 3 wins isn't going to cut it. Well, they're past 3 wins now. How does that change what the offseason may or may not look like?
Well, as I said earlier, I think you have to put a lot of stock into how this team has been playing in this last month. We can sit here and we can criticize play calls, game situations, and whatnot, right? And physical mistakes that have been made on the field. We cannot criticize how hard this football team plays. I wish they would execute a lot better. I wish their execution matched their how they play, okay? But I do feel like that there's something to say that you cannot say that Kevin Stefanski has lost this team, or he's lost the locker room, or he's lost the faith of the players, because that's patently false. And the proof is how they played this afternoon. I honestly thought Pittsburgh was going to come in here and put the boots to the Browns and lock up the division, because it was all on the line for them, and they could have positioned themselves to take next weekend off against the Ravens. That did not happen. Not even close to how this thing played out today. And the way they played in that final series, because how many times have we seen this year, Andy, on a final series, starting with Minnesota, right? How many times have we seen the Browns defense get worn down late in the game, and you're watching that final series there as that clock is ticking, they get, boom, they're at the 50. Oh, no, now they're inside the 30. Oh, no, now they're inside the 10 with 30 seconds to play, and you're thinking, okay, here comes another game where the Browns defense just runs out of gas at the end. Didn't happen. They held on. Yeah, Myles didn't get the sack record, but the defense held on, thanks in large part, to the play of Denzel Ward on those final 3-4 plays there, and they win the football game, and they force Pittsburgh to go elsewhere to go try and win their division title. So, big picture right now, I think that's something that the Haslams really do need to take to heart and look at. Do they need a fresh set of eyes in here maybe to help them as far as, player evaluation, talent evaluation? I do think so. Paul DePodesta is out of the building now. It wouldn't be the worst thing to bring in another voice to help Andrew Berry. I'm not saying you got to get rid of Andrew, but I have been steadfast. You either keep them both, and that's Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, or you replace them both. You don't do one or the other, because I really believe that these two work well together. They are joined at the hip, and I don't think Kevin Stefanski should have to pay the price for some of the shortcomings we've seen with the front office. But on top of that, Andy, let's also be fair and look at the hand that Stefanski's dealt. And there have been some games where you're like, I think Kevin might have blown this one. But I'm just saying, 13 quarterbacks since he's been here, starting quarterbacks, right? There's just everything that comes with this job that he has to deal with. So obviously, I think if they win in Cincinnati to finish the season 5-12, well, I think that absolutely might, change how a lot of people feel about the situation. But the reporting has been the ownership has not made any decisions yet, and that's probably a good thing. You don't want to make impulsive decisions when you're talking about these type of moves. But yeah, I am firmly in my conviction. You keep both, or you replace both. You don't do one or the other. And right now it feels like if it's going to be one or the other, it's probably going to be Kevin. And I don't think that that's the right move.
And the other thing, too, that you said that we don't really talk about a lot is go back and look at the injury report over the last, even since the bye week. I mean, it's traditionally 15, 16, 17, 18 names, whether guys got back for full practice or not. So I think it is something else to take into consideration. Let's see what the Browns look like in Cincinnati the final week of the year. That's Brownie Bites. He's Daryl Ruiter. He does it every day. Thanks for watching the postgame edition of Brownie Bites right here on YouTube. And, of course, we'll be back with you next week.